What's up, guys? Welcome back to Zilla MMA. I am your host, as always, the Zilla. Going to start this episode like I do every episode, and that's thanking you, the viewers. Couldn't do this without you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It means everything to the channel. So go ahead and do that now. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. Like I said, really appreciate it. It's what keeps the channel going. This growth is really important if we want to keep putting out videos. So thank you. This video gonna break down UFC 295 and what happened this weekend in what was a really interesting card. Some that we did expect, a lot that I didn't though. A lot that I didn't. We did okay betting wise. If you tail my picks, went 3 for 4 on our parlays. We did hit our biggest single bet that we had on the card. Missed on our dog plays. The dogs just weren't barking on this card. It is what it is. Prize picks wise, depending on how you ended up structuring it, I gave you 5 plays. We hit 3 of the 5, so could have been profitable there. But yeah, outside of that, how this card actually broke down, a lot of really intriguing things here. And we'll go ahead and get started with the main event, which was Pereira versus Prochazka. Pereira getting the finish in the second round, and some people felt kind of an early stoppage. Prochazka's come out and said that it was the right call, that he was out. And even if he wasn't, in my opinion, it was trending that way. It's exactly what we were expecting. Prochazka very creative with his strikes. I was, just the ability to land shots that Pereira does not see coming. I feel like he executed that game plan pretty well. Pereira standing back for a lot of the beginning of the fight, waiting to see what Yuri's going to do, looking for his spots, played the fight smart, found the big shot, got him to the ground, and the finish is called from there. Kind of falls backwards in what looked like, Pereira fell right into Mount, and it's hard to tell if he was actually out in that spot or if he was going to defend himself. I think there might be a chance where he went out and came back when he initially went down, which wasn't a good look, and so I understand why it needed to be stopped in that spot. And like I said, I really feel like it was trending that way anyways, so good for Pereira. That was our biggest play of the night, betting wise, and he went out, got it done for us. I actually last minute threw in a Pereira inside the distance as well, so very good for us there. But yeah, very enjoyable fight. Good for Pereira. Now hold the champ both here in the UFC and in kickboxing as well, so has established himself for sure as one of the best martial artists in the history of the sport, right up there with all the greats. So good for him. Very happy for him. Excited to see where that weight class is going to go from here. And the same thing with the next one that we're going to talk about, and that's the heavyweight. This one we did not get right. This one, I'm just going to eat crow here and say that I had this wrong in pretty much every possible way, because I came out and said the only way that I saw Aspinall being able to finish this fight is getting it to the ground. I thought Pavlovich was going to have the advantage on the feet, has solid boxing, was going to have his opportunities in this fight. And that's just not how it panned out. I mean, Pavlovich did rock him. He had a good shot early in the fight. But I didn't underestimate the speed that Tom Aspinall had, but I underestimated how much of an effect it was going to have in this fight. I think his speed is really what separated him from Pavlovich in this spot. And Pavlovich, coming off a fight against a guy like Derek Lewis and then coming in against a guy like Tom Aspinall, as a heavyweight, this is speed that you may not have ever seen before. And Aspinall said after the fight he had a little trouble with the distance in the beginning, with Pavlovich being so much longer than him. But once he was able to get inside and use that speed that he has, Pavlovich didn't have anything for him. And he's able to land the knockdown, get the knockout, get the big finish. All credit to him. I mean, taking this on short notice, stepping in and taking this fight, all credit to him. He deserves it. And this is a really interesting weight class because no one really knows what's going to happen from now. Everyone saw Stipe at the fight and looking just as old as he actually is. I don't know if him versus John Jones is ever going to happen. I don't know if it's going to play any kind of role in where the heavyweight title actually goes from here. I can't imagine. I can't imagine Stipe fighting Tom Aspinall at any point. That doesn't really make sense to me. But you never know. I don't know how things are going to break down from here. I'm going to keep my eye on it, see how things are going with the heavyweight division. But we had a great fight here, and it was fun to watch. And so, very good main and co-main. And on the main card, my picks just don't go well from here. We did have mostly dogs on the main card, to be fair, and did not have big money on anything on the main card, but they did not go our way. The next one's going to be Andrade versus Dern, and this is one I don't know if we overly discredited Andrade or if we overcredited Mackenzie Dern or maybe a little bit of both. Um, Jessica just so much stronger than her. Dern struggled really. I think she gave up on the takedowns a little early, in my opinion. Wasn't really fighting for the takedowns as the fight went on. Was content standing on the feet, where she was clearly very outmatched. I mean, just very obvious that they are not in the same class striking wise. And I think we might have jumped the gun. I said in my analysis of this card that I thought Dern could at this point compete with her on the feet. Just couldn't have been more wrong. And I think that's a little credit to maybe Andrade looking a little more like this is a fight she prepared for. In her last few fights, she looked like she was just showing up to get the paycheck. She did look a little better prepared coming into this fight, and as well as Mackenzie Dern just not being a striker of that caliber, not having the strength to compete with a fighter this big. And so maybe Andrade gets back on the right track here. It's probably a little too early to say. I really don't know where this leaves Mackenzie Dern. She's very much in danger of becoming a gatekeeper type just because. And so is Andrade, to be honest. I don't know if either of these women are really title contenders at any point. Because I think they've beaten the people who are below them, and I think would be beaten or have been beaten by the people above them in the weight class. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I really don't know where they go from here, but yeah, just seeing a fighter get knocked down that many times in this weight class for women is uncommon, as they said on the broadcast, and a very bad sign for Mackenzie Dern. But I wish her the best, wish them both the best, and we'll move on from that fight. And the next one, just not not all that much to say. It ends so quickly. Favola catches a kick to the head as he's backing up, doesn't have his hands up, and a lot of people saying Benoit is one of the scariest people in the UFC at this point. Kind of hard to disagree. Just looked really impressive in this spot. He's a real scary fighter. He's got a lot in his arsenal, and so definitely a guy to look out for going forward. And then another one, same deal. It was over before we even got a shot with Sabatini in this spot. Diego Lopez goes in and gets the knockout. Not the way we had anticipated this one playing out. We had chosen this in our prize picks to go over 10.5 minutes, and it certainly did not do that. I anticipated this going to the ground. Sabatini fighting, wrestling, getting him to the ground. Lopez threatening submissions off his back. It's just not the way this panned out. And so this fight ends early with a Lopez knockout. Definitely very, very wrong on the way that one went. And then this is one I was very tempted to take the over. We did have Urseg and some parlays. The over on this one was set at 14.75 minutes on prize picks. Chose to go with that other fight instead. I do regret it. Urseg put on a pretty good performance against a good opponent. I do need to watch that going forward, though. Urseg is a decision-type fighter. It's just his style. Going to land his shots, going to get his takedowns. He's a very talented fighter, but I anticipate a lot more decisions, especially he fights a smart fight. So as he's going up in the weight class and fighting guys with higher levels of talent, I expect that style to continue. Lupi versus Ricci in this spot. I had Lupi in all 3 rounds, in my opinion. 2 judges had it 29-28. One judge that belongs in prison had it 30-27 for Ricci. Had a couple weird things on the card. I actually think he scored a round later in the night to Mackenzie Dern that just no way that first round she won, and I believe they scored that round for Mackenzie Dern, which is just another criminal act. But Loopy gets this one done for us. Very, very much what I was anticipating. Actually, this was spot on with the analysis I gave. Loopy just able to land the more impactful shots. Ricci was able to land, but they're just not very heavy shots. I'd seen it in the tape. That's just how it goes. Loopy continues to move forward and land her much bigger, more impactful strikes, and so that gets her the win in this spot. So that was a good one for us. This one went as we anticipated. Rudbecki goes in there, gets his early submission. Roberts just put in a really bad situation, comes in on short notice, misses weight, is going against a guy who's just a terrible matchup for him, who pretty much everyone knows is further along in his MMA career than Roberts is. He's a much more established fighter, and just a real tough spot here for Roosevelt Roberts, but he should get another attempt, I think, here in the UFC, just taking this on short notice. I'm sure they have some kind of deal worked out for him. So good for him to come in and get another chance in the UFC, and good for Rudbecki putting on a good performance here and getting the win. Interesting fight here. This is one where we were on Borshev fighting Sadikov, and Borshev, for the majority of the fight, looked like the better fighter. Except for a moment in the second round where he looked like he was dead in the octagon. Just went down in a way where when I watched it live, I was kind of surprised that it wasn't stopped. I kind of thought it was over. He's able to pull Sadikov in and stay alive throughout that round. It's interesting because this brings some questions to how 10-8s are scored. I don't know if it was a 10-8 round for Sadikov, but it was certainly a 10-8 moment because Borshev was about as close to being finished as you can be. So I don't hold too much of an issue with that, to be honest. And so that's why this resulted in a draw. I believe one of the judges did have that second round as a 10-9 for Sadikov, which I can also see it that way. This is one where I think there is a little bit of discretion to have on that. There's cases where there's clear 10-8s and there's cases where there's clear 10-9s, and this was somewhere in that gray area. So I actually think the decision was correct here. I wouldn't have been mad at them to give 2 10-9s to Borshev and let him, or to Sadikov in that spot, to let Borshev get the win. But unfortunately, we come out with a draw here. That's a push betting-wise, so we move on from that one. Then Jared Gordon puts on a good performance here, gets the early finish. Madsen just not able to execute his game plan, obviously trying to get this to the ground. Jared Gordon just looked like the better fighter from start to finish here, in my opinion. This was a tough one for me to swallow. Kong just didn't seemed a little disinterested to me. They mentioned it a couple times on the broadcast with both of them, but I felt it much more strongly with Kong. Maybe that's me as a better for him. Maybe that's me because he's losing the fight. But he just seemed to be throwing it looked like sparring shots. It didn't seem like he was trying to finish the fight. It didn't show any sense of urgency. I don't know if he was tired. I don't know. I don't really. Maybe it's because he didn't cut the extra weight. Maybe he's carrying more weight than he's used to carrying, having this fight at catch weight. I'm not really sure. Didn't seem all that interested in finishing this fight, and obviously was not able to. And so very, very disheartening here from Kong. I'm probably going to stay away from him for a while. Just that's very discouraging to me. If he gets another fight here in the UFC, I don't see myself betting on him again after that performance. It was kind of a tough watch for me. So good for Castaneda in that spot. Wasn't super impressed with either of these guys though. So we'll move on from that one. Complete polar opposite for this fight. Two guys that show everything about why this weight class at 125 is is so good. Just two fighters who were so versatile, who were so good at everything they do. Joshua Van right up there near the record for body shots in this fight. Just so impressive from both of them. Take nothing away from Kevin Borjas here because he went to war as well. These are two guys really to watch out for going forward. Almost any matchup these two guys get next, I'm going to be on them. I just am very impressed with how they fought in this spot. Joshua Van goes out there, gets us the win. Very exciting. Like I said, that just two absolutely amazing performances. Can't take anything away from either of these guys. So very happy to get the win there, but just as impressed with Kevin Borjas. Two guys that definitely belong here in the UFC. And then finally, a quick fight, a fight that ended pretty quick. Jamal Emmers gets us the win here in this spot, and we had him parlayed with Van, so another win for us on this card. But that's going to do it here for us, guys. A fun card. A fun card. I actually enjoyed this card a lot. Had all 13 fights make it to fight night, which we've had a couple fall-offs lately. That's always tough from a betting perspective, from a viewing perspective to have that happen. But this one, we had all our fighters make it here, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it a lot. We've got another fight night coming up this weekend, so look for that video to be coming up later this week. But until then, guys, really appreciate you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.